بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. صدق الله العظيم. Honorable and respected dear ulama, brothers, elders, young friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Just I was listening to the announcement the brother was making, Hafizan, and he mentioned a couple of things as a format. Now, first and foremost, I'd like to mention that generally what happens is that a lot of communities have a lot of lectures. There's a lot of bayans that take place. And there's no shortage of nasihas and bayans that you can hear online. I'm not going to know where you say that I have all the solutions to the problems. But alhamdulillah, in my small capacity of what I've experienced around the country, and alhamdulillah, that some wealth of knowledge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has afforded me with, I will try and humbly share that with the brothers in the best possible way. Now, in all due respect, I have an understanding of what communities face up and down the country to a general extent. But what happens is that specifics only you people know. So that's why the brother mentioned if there's any question and answer, and I'm happy to entertain those questions. Obviously, things which are related to fiqh and things which are related to more of a local masala thing, whether it's, if it's anything of a jurisprudence issue or that sort of fiqhi dimension, then I would say speak to the local ulama. But anything which is in relation to the topic, then inshallah we'll try to entertain that the best of possible way, inshallah. Bi-idhnillah. I have before you some stats here. I was called in Newham to one particular masjid in an area, and that particular area in Manor Park, which is part of the Newham Council, it has the worst statistics and the worst representation, unfortunately, of knife crime throughout the whole country. And alhamdulillah, there's some points which I want to share with you. Some will be practical. Now, I don't mean to say this as a degree of excellence of anyone from over north or over south, but it's generally the case that London is generally a trend-setting city. Things happen in London first, and then other places kind of mimic. It happens generally in cities first. That doesn't mean that no one has a degree of excellence over anyone. It just means that what happens is that certain places are just trendsetters more than others. So people are considered southerners to be more theirs as apparent to north. Obviously that's subjective and we can debate that. And it doesn't necessarily mean I agree with those sentiments, but that is that general thing. So I'm saying that there are some things which obviously I shared with them, and I will also try to share with yourselves. From the outset, I'd like to make this one point. That if you ever want to see the condition of your future people, or if we as a Muslim community want to have a look at what we're going to see in the future, just look at our youngsters and our youth. That picture will kind of give representation of what we're going to expect somewhere in the near future. What we're going to achieve not too far down the line. If you want to see who are going to be our leaders tomorrow, look at our youngsters and our youth today. At this moment in time, I would definitely say that we've got massive challenges. And they're not problems, but they're challenges. Because with every scenario, with every circumstance, with every difficulty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has definitely put a solution. We have to be ready to be those individuals that we don't have to go against our ideals, we don't have to go against our values, but we definitely need to look between the lines, and we need to be open to amount of having at least some open-mindedness in order to challenge and to face the challenges which we have today. By no means am I saying that old is done and dusted with and they're something of the past and it's relic. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that sometimes the fitnas have a different way and shape and form. And sometimes we have to focus our attention in such a way which can deal with the fitnas of today. And having said that, the purpose of me speaking, I don't want to speak for too long. I want to speak approximately between 30 to 40 minutes, and then we want to actually allow people to ask questions, inshallah. Now, let me just ask this quickly so then everybody's aware. What time do you envisage, what time do you see people sitting till? No, is there food and stuff as well for the brothers? Oh, okay, no, okay, alright. Let me just ask this, because what happens is when you're speaking, someone says, well, 5 minutes food, so it messes the whole system up. What time do you generally, are you going to have food here roughly? 9:45. Oh, we've got plenty of time then, alhamdulillah. Okay, that's good. So we can even possibly stretch it to maybe 45 minutes and allow question and answer, and we can easily finish within the designated time, inshallah. But nevertheless, I made an opening statement, and that opening statement was that if you want to see your leaders tomorrow, who do you need to look at? Your youth. And it's the same. Now listen, let me make it very, very clear. When I say your youth, they're not yours, they're not specifically mine, they're all of ours. We need to look holistically, and we need to look at the wider representation of who are youth within our communities. That means it is imperative for us to think like an alimi ummah, rather than a very kind of geographical, centered, focused ummah. What I mean by that, forget the Gujarati, Surti, Baruchi, Memon, Punjabi, Pathan, Sylhet, Dhaka. This has got to go out the window. Really, this is the first step to understanding a wider cause of a problem, because we are then shooting our own feet and our own selves on the feet. If we only look at our very, very narrow tunnel vision. So like I said, some things that people are going to like to hear, things they're not going to like to hear. But if you want to challenge it on an academic basis, one-to-one, we will have a discussion. If I'm wrong, I'll openly say I'm wrong. But the Prophet ﷺ was not sent to differentiate between cultures. He didn't make, for example, this is one group, that's the other group. He respected the sentiments. This is Aws, this is Khazraj, this is the likes. But he never divided them on that basis. He made everybody one ummah. So this is the first and foremost thing. When we say youth, we're talking about Somali brothers, we're talking about Kurdish brothers, we're talking about Arab brothers, Turkish, Pakistani, Bengali, Sri Lankan, Algerian, everyone. If they say La ilaha illallah, then my brother, you and I are brothers. If I see a sister and she's identified with being a Muslim, irrespective of the color of her passport, or perhaps now she's been given a red one, but the difference in the language, the difference in the color, the difference in the culture, she's my sister, I'm her brother. In a halal way. Inshallah, we'll talk about some of these things as well tomorrow. Big fitnas we're facing with, big fitnas. But like I said, if we have a glance at our youngsters, this will give us a picture of what we're ready for tomorrow. Now I know it's hard. Wallahi, I know it's hard. It's not easy. Deen itself is very easy. Practicing upon deen isn't hard, meaning you can easily fulfill the fasting, or the praying of salah, the fasting, the charity, hajj. These are all easy things. Wallah, what's really difficult is that the trend is going in one way and you are the fish which is swimming against the current. That's the hard part. That's what our youngsters find difficult. Is that then you kind of feel that you're going against the tide of what's happening outside. Everyone is moving in one direction, and naturally we want to be people that want to be liked. You want to be part of society. You want to be part of the wider circle. And when you go against that, sometimes there can be a sense of isolation. Sometimes you're left by yourself. So these are issues, my dear brothers. And without a strong community at heart, people will always feel like they're left out. People will always feel like they're lone soldiers, lone individuals, fish which are swimming against the current. Let me make it very, very clear. I'll just mention one hadith, and if you only take just this much away, because naturally everything we say is from Quran and hadith. I'll mention just one hadith particularly, and I'm sure you probably heard it, and it's just going to serve as a reminder. The Prophet ﷺ, he actually mentioned a number of individuals who will be underneath the shade of Allah's arsh on the day of Qiyamah. And from amongst those 7, he mentioned one. شَابٌ نَشَأَ فِي عِبَادَةِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. There will be one specific youngster who will be afforded the ability of being underneath the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of Qiyamah. That youngster will be that individual who worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He or she, him or her. It's for both genders here. Who worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their youth age. This particular youngster will be underneath the shade of Allah's arsh on the day of Qiyamah. Why? The question is why? It's because, again, at this moment in time, when a person is in their youth ages, all the desire is at the high, the thinking is on a different level, the body is going through chemistry, chemical changes, there's reactions to that, a person's whole physiology, mentality, everything changes. And for a person to have the overriding importance as to be deen, That whatever Allah says, I will do. Whatever Allah says don't do, I will not do. Whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says do, I will do. Whatever he says don't, I will abstain, I will shun, I will turn away from. A person who can develop this type of mindset, it is the wa'da and the promise of Allah that He will have shade underneath the arsh of Allah, where there will be no shade except for my shade. Because it's difficult. Because it's difficult. It's not given to anybody just for the sake of it. And that's why I'm saying that, understand that if you only take away this much, and you don't take away anything else, at least you can safeguard yourself. I never said it's going to be easy. It's going to be tough. But the bottom line is, right, is that if it was that easy, my dear brother, if it was that easy, my sister, every individual would be doing it. The fact that there is some challenge behind it means that you're going to have to make some effort. Now, I don't want this to be just a bayan where we do some shouting and screaming, get everyone hype, alhamdulillah, takbir, takbir, and mashallah. You know, but there's got to be a thought process that clicks in our minds, inshallah. So first and foremost, make this azam and intention. Whatever the case may be, I will strive my utmost best to try and live in accordance to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you just practice on this much, and you don't reciprocate and make khair on others, at least you will safeguard yourself, at the very bare minimum. Because the promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are many and wide. But like I said, look, because now, for many of us, if not all of us, we identify UK, England and so on as our home. Gone are the days when our relatives or forefathers came and they thought to themselves they're going to build big kotiyan and houses in Mirpur and one in Surat and so on. Them days are gone. People aren't interested in the parents' respective home countries. That doesn't mean we've sold out. Of course, we still have a cultural affiliation to a certain degree. So we all identify UK and England as being our home. So that means we need to understand the challenges which we're facing. We need to understand the difficulties which we're facing. We need to understand the challenges which are going to affect us in 5 to 10 years' time. So like I said, one of them, which is undoubtedly a very, very big one, which I shared with the brothers, is particularly about violence and crime and things like this which happen amongst the Muslim community. Now I don't know about if you know, right, subhanallah, London, we've got a big drama. We've got a big drama which is going on. Now I'm not specifically from London, I'm from, mashallah, Crawley, which is between London and Brighton. So we're kind of lucky to an extent that we kind of safeguarded from the kind of the hustle and bustle of the city. People like to refer to us as country bumpkins, because we're out of the way. But alhamdulillah, I prefer it to London. At least it doesn't take you 10 minutes to get from let's use the word an hour to get from A to B. You can go from one side of Crawley to the other in 10 to 15 minutes, no problem, alhamdulillah. But like I said, is that when we look at the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in, first and foremost, there have been examples from among Sahaba we can also take aspiration from. That also had to challenge their nafs, challenge their desire, challenge the societal pressures of the time. But yet, alhamdulillah, they persevered, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it such that not only they were beacons of light for them, for the youngsters of then, but also will remain that way until the day of Qiyamah. Multitudes of examples we can give. But nevertheless, like I said, right, that whilst a large percentage of us, right, we are engrossed and absolutely are literally in our own worlds in glitter and glamour. The young boys amongst us, right, our youngsters now, they're being brought up with social media, games. They're being brought up with certain things which are inappropriate, which I did not see until they were adults, even beyond that stage. Some people never were even exposed to such things. And people are being exposed at a very, very young age to ills and things of society which were never a part of before. Now what we do in our kind of kindness, we call it, to our children, we feed them all of this stuff. So a child will come home and say, I need a computer. So we'll give that to them happily. They will be exposed to hours and hours of violence. They will be exposed to hours and hours of gameplay, things which aren't even appropriate. Look how sick and twisted of a society we've become, that the more graphic and the more harmful way you kill someone, the more points you're going to get on your game. I mean, look at that as a mindset, subhanAllah. It's normalizing crime. It's normalizing pain and suffering. It's making people think that this person got hurt this way, so that, and listen, it goes beyond that as well. It's to physical as well. Na'udzubillah, there's a thing happening in London where if you stab someone a certain way, you get a certain number of points. And there's certain parts, so head is a certain number of points, torso certain, arm is separate, leg is separate. The more delicate and the more dangerous of a position, the more points you get. There's a scoreboard point of actual physically stabbing and harming people. Now what makes it sad is because when I was doing some research into the situation, There was Muslims themselves that are caught up with this. Now let me make it very clear. We are not only for Muslims alone. This is another, when I say wider community, we need to think wider community. And that means Muslim and non-Muslim alike. When Muslims start reciprocating, meaning giving back, then people, despite the tide which is currently against us politically and so on, people will stand and vouch for us and say, no, hold on a second, I don't believe this to be a true account of what a Muslim is. Do you guys get where I'm coming from? Well, let me say it in simple layman's terms. At this moment in time, brother, we're not the most favourable people, are we? We've got challenges. We've got big challenges. And a lot of time people say the same thing, that Muslims don't give back, what are Muslims doing, Muslims need to do more. And I would honestly say, there's no recording here except for the brother there, which is alright inshallah, minor. To an extent that's true. Because we have not fulfilled the haqq of our fellow neighbours and non-Muslims in the wider community. I mean, and forgive me if this comes across quite, alhamdulillah, here I was happy to see outside, very simple place. I like simplicity, honestly. I really like simplicity. I'm not playing the humble card and the tawabu card, but I like simplicity. But we have no qualms, right, about in a deprived area, building 150, 200,000 pound minaret, but yet we've got non-Muslims around the masjid who are dying, not literally dying, but they're on the starvation, they're going to food banks. Now we can say, mashallah, this is the house of Allah, and I agree with that, we should give to the house of Allah. But what comes in the minds of these people that, if we were to just, as they say, spread the love around a little bit, because the maqsad is not to build a lavish building. Maqsad is to establish a community. So can you see it's about priorities? I'm not saying it's wrong. Give to the masjid, and wallahi, if Allah gave you more, give more. But I'm saying we need to think for the wider community as well. Not just Muslims, but also non-Muslims. But like I said, where I just kind of digressed was that I went and I was making some research. There were people like, for a Muslim, put in their profile, alhamdulillah, man got shanked, but a man's a soldier, alhamdulillah. Like this sort of statement. So I'm thinking he must be a Muslim because he's identifying with the words alhamdulillah. But yeah, it's very common in London. If you say to somebody a promise or something, you say, Aki, say wallah. It's quite common. I don't know how it's up here. Down south, if someone asks you to promise, they'll say to you, say wallah. Aki, say wallah. They know that wallah, this terminology is am. Calling someone Aki, saying wallah, bismillah. I mean, even Anthony Joshua in Saudi shouted bismillah. Muslims were going crazy tweeting. He said bismillah. He said alright, okay, fine. I mean, come on, look, have inferiority complex. Just because he said bismillah, oh, mashallah, he gasped us up, bismillah. Brother, nothing. And what? Do you see the mentality, someone pumping us a little bit, alhamdulillah, bismillah, and that's it, mashallah, we take to social media. Okay, respectively, alhamdulillah, he's influenced and so on, that's another thing. But like I said, I'm going on this because then we're not going to finish, right? What is sad about the stats and what we've come across, right, is that this is last year's stats. 701 people were murdered last year. That means there's approximately 2 a day. People that are getting killed up and down in the country. Now the media does a great job in keeping things quiet. They don't deny people the information, but they don't create a national panic. Whereas unfortunately, I don't want to highlight specifically certain countries, but unfortunately when it comes to, like I have some relatives who religiously watch news and media in Pakistan. Someone got hurt somewhere in Lahore, in some village, in some chuck somewhere, and got juked by some next man. And the whole country becomes paranoid that, it's coming to Pindi, it's coming to Islamabad, it's coming to Bahawalpur, it's coming. But one man got shanked, doesn't mean it's going to affect you. So the whole country goes crazy. Here we're saying 700 people, 2 a day. 2 a day. And literally, Allah ma farmaya still. But nevertheless, right, the previous year was the higher, 728. So we're doing slightly better. But it's still not, obviously one life is valuable in the eyes of Allah. Not even one should be going. But what's causing all these issues? As of today, right, in the capital alone, just in the capital alone, there's been approximately 110 violent deaths, just in capital alone. That means every 3 days, someone in London is getting murdered. Someone is getting killed. There was a spike of violent crime in the earlier part of the year. Throughout it went a bit quiet, but it's still, unfortunately, is quite steady. What's causing the issues? What's causing the problems? Number one, the biggest culprit, undoubtedly, is drugs. This is the biggest problem which we have in our community. When I say community, I'm now referring to the wider community as well. The issue of drugs is what literally is taking our youngsters, taking our communities for a ride. It's causing the biggest menace to our society. Where we are from, more down south, unfortunately we have postcode wars. Literally a postcode war. No joke. S17 versus SW18. I mean, I was in Birmingham for Bayan, and they said, this postcode for this masjid, this postcode for that masjid. I mean, that mentality has crept even in our guys, that even in the matters of deen, one masjid won't go to another masjid because it comes under a different postcode. Now, alhamdulillah, there's not physical violence, there's no physical attacks. But look how stupid that is. And that's all I've got to say about that, is pure stupidness. That I won't go to that masjid simply because that's their masjid, this is our masjid. We do the same thing but on a smaller scale without the violence. Unfortunately, when it comes drugs involved, people bring violence into the equation. Approximately, it mentions, this is some scary statistics here, right? In the last 12 months, we're talking about knife-related crimes. We're not talking about homicides and murders now. There were approximately 43,516 instances of knife-related crimes here in England. Now that's crazy. That means on a daily basis, every few minutes, someone is getting caught with a knife. Someone is getting caught with what you call a shank. Someone is getting caught with something to harm somebody else. And again, unfortunately, it's sad for me to say this, but it's not limited to non-Muslims, it's also Muslims as well. It's just our communities, our Abdullahs, our Muhammads, our young brothers and sisters, they're also caught up in the same thing. And while I'm on the subject of sisters, it's sad to see there's also a spike in crime in relation to sisters as well. Why? Because now people are feeling afraid that if I don't walk prepared, someone's going to hurt me. So I have to be strapped to safeguard myself. Again, drugs is what is fueling this. A big, big problem. Again, like I said, you have the county, the trade, the postcode wars and so on. These are things which are existing. Why we talk about these evils in the house of Allah? Why? Is because so we can become, number one, we can become aware of the problems. And number two, we can work actively to try and reduce this. Because if you don't know there's a problem, then you fail to even address the problem. Simply just trying to address and talk about the problem again won't solve. There needs to be practical things in place for us to do as a community to rid ourselves of these menaces in our society. And each and every one of you is responsible. It's not just the responsibility of Hafiz Saab, or Yahya Bey, or Maulana Munib, Maulana Sajid, or just the committee, or for example Dewsbury, or Batley. No, it's a collective responsibility. Because we as the Ummah were sent to guide. We were sent to bring people to the right path. We were those people who were supposed to show people the right way. Sadly, we've been caught up in the mess ourselves. As I mentioned, in London alone, check this out. In London alone, they say there's approximately and I'm sharing you stats of London just so we can take heed from this. 1,000 lines, postcode lines in operation. Meaning, that's my line. Don't you dare come into my area and sell anything. That sort of thing. Now the same thing happens here. You have your divisions of certain towns, certain areas. This is my area, that's my area, this is this postcode, that's that postcode. How on earth did this even creep in amongst Muslims? How and why? Number one, lack of the fear of akhirah. Lack of worrying and thinking of the akhirah. Number two, thinking too much about this transitory or temporary passing world. In addition to that, social media has brought upon a pressure. Social media has definitely played a big, big part. Because why? Actually, let me finish off the other thing. 4, pressure in terms of wealth, status, position, authority. These are some of the key reasons why people have unfortunately gone down this particular route. It's not always the same, but these are big reasons. So number one I mentioned in regards to, like, for example now, having no fear of the repercussions in the akhirah. If a person knows that if I do this particular sin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask me about this in the akhirah, that itself is a deterrent to a certain degree. It's a deterrent to a certain degree. If a person understands that this world is only a temporary phase, it's going to eventually finish. I will not be here forever. That itself will stop to make someone think, hold on a second, why would I as a Muslim destroy my akhirah for the sake of this small 50, 60 year life? And I gave this example before, wallahi, and I swear, I'm think about this strongly and hardly, and we should relate this to others as well. I have met people myself personally, and this is why I said personal experience. I've met one brother, and many brothers, subhanallah. And one particular brother, he is known to be a very, very big guy in our area. But alhamdulillah, with the grace of Allah, and I'm going to share this with the brothers as well, and I might share now. The only thing that gave me an opportunity to sit down and speak to certain individuals, I was not judgmental towards anybody. If someone said to me, look, I do this, and I'm involved in haram, and this is what I'm involved in, I didn't start attacking them verbally and saying, astaghfirullah, brother, make wuzu, pray 2 rakats because your muamala is finished in the akhirah. La hawla wa la quwwata. I didn't start jumping on them and judging them. That is one thing which we as a community definitely need to experience ourselves in terms of not being judgmental. If you're judgmental, the person with the problem is not going to come to you and share that thing with you which you're going to attack him on. And because of this, I'm not saying we don't say it's right. Na'udhu billah, never have you ever heard me say, okay, I agree with what you're doing. I said, let them say what they got to say, and I'll say, brother, mashallah, I can see you're a good brother. If you were to come this way more, and you do it in a subtle, gentle way. If you're too blatant in people's faces, people will run away from you. People will not stand and tolerate listening something you've got to say. You've got to build up such a level of respect that wherever you say goes. And that doesn't come simply by just you wearing a topi, a jubba and having a beard. It does not come that easy. And when you are dressed in a certain religious attire or a garb, people are going to keep that distance because they're already afraid that the person is going to attack me. So it's very less that they're going to open to you anyways. But like I said, the only reason why that brother approached me is because, we was behind one particular shopping thing and he come in and I was like, bro, look, come on man, seriously. Until when? Come on bro, until when? You got so many houses, you got this Porsche sitting here, but until when? And then what happened was that he started opening up in front of me, and then he was nearly shedding tears. And not nearly, he actually shed a tear. He started crying. Now this is supposed to be a bad man of the area, someone who people are afraid of. He's got his little runners and he's driving a £50,000 car. How many houses? Inside, wallahi, he is dying a death. There's no sukoon for that individual. Listen, I was supposed to be here just at 7 o'clock, 7:15. That's what we planned to come here. It takes about 4.5 hours from Crawley to get here, no traffic. With traffic, 5 hours. I literally went to Guildford for Jum'ah, and to come here would have taken no more than 4 hours. It took us 6 hours just to get here. Now that tension that's causing me, I didn't not come for the bayan. It just so happened that I went past my estimated arrival time. That's all that happened. And the tension that created in my life, or my heart, was thinking, damn, I'm late for a program. I said I was going to be there at this time. Halanki, that's not a sin. It's out of my hand. It's out of my control. Now check this out. Not too long ago, I was actually on my way to somewhere. I can't remember where it was. I think it was similarly as well. I went from some place to go up north. And there was a diversion. And I took just one wrong turn. That one wrong turn cost me such that it took 12 miles before there was another turning back. Subhanallah, the tension and that caused me through one wrong turn made it such that it made my driving haram for the next 35-40 minutes. Now that's one wrong turn. That individual who's earning, eating, sleeping, everything is evolved and only in disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By Allah. Wallahi, you are looking at them with the eyes of hasad and envy. You look at the car, look at the ride, look at the chaps, look at the clothing. I swear by Allah, wallahi, I would rather be poor and penniless and have sukoon and iman than have the wealth of this world and yet be void of the kalima and iman. And dekha dekhi experience, not suni sunai, I heard this. One local brother, check this out, right? Again, subhanAllah, when you make yourself accessible to people, then people come. Because the word spreads, yeah, my man, he's okay, he's an okay Maulvi, he's alright. It's one of them ones. So one brother approached me and he said to me, look, he goes, and then it could be Hazrat Maulana, he goes, Masjid bro, look, this was up, yeah? And then that's how they do it, astaghfirullah. No, let them, create a thing with him. So he said to me, I need to learn how to pray salah. Well, actually he calls it namaz. I was like, cool, come to the masjid. He goes, no, me bro. People are going to think, well, what's he doing with me? What are they talking about? So I said, okay, well, you plan something? He goes, let me take you to my house. So he comes for Jumu'ah, pulls up in his bent motor, gets me to jump in. I go, and as I'm driving, I was like, so, how's business? He went, and I was like, Rob, he goes to me, my car's tapped, this is tapped. I'm like, how can you live a life of sukoon? And he knows he's tapped. He knows that he's got a device and they're listening to everything which he's saying. You know me, I'm still looking for a job. And I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking, look what I'm getting myself, which people I'm getting. And actually, Na'udhu, check this out, right? I mean, I went to the brother's house on a couple of occasions. We sat down with Subhanakallahumma, finished to one nas. Meaning, obviously, he read just a couple of surahs at the end until, he finished salah and a couple of surahs. Over a period of 2 to 3 weeks. Alhamdulillah, he got his namaz a little bit fixed up. Who created the problem? Who created the fuss? It was the local musallis that saw me with that individual. Really, did I pay attention to them waste man? Not at all. Let them jog on. These people have spent their whole life eating food their whole lives. They've got nothing else to do. Now they come in the masjid to make siyasa. Not all. This was the case with these couple of individuals. You've got nothing to do with your life. You're burnt out. The only thing left now is masjid politics. Let them people be waste man. I'm not even interested in people like this. But this brother, alhamdulillah, I'm just saying, if you just have a degree of openness with people, a degree of, I didn't say, and I said to him, brother, look, I'm giving you personally brotherly advice. Everything's going to come to an end one day. Just think of that one day you have to stand in front of Allah. Bas. Subtle. But to the point where he will understand what I'm trying to get at. So like I said, right, when we don't have this openness in our society where people or youngsters can talk to us, youngsters are not going to come. So like I said, because of that, there's that barrier. People don't understand about they don't pay attention to what's going to happen in the akhirah. They focus too much on what's happening in this dunya. But where has this become crazy? Social media plays a big part. Because what we do, we look at what people present on their perfect day, in the perfect lighting moments, in the perfect scenarios which they upload to their Instagram and their Facebook, and they upload, and that's what we get to see. We just get to see a screen. So we're judging somebody by just that 10th attempt of their photo taken. Now that's what happens with a lot of us. We're judging people by what we see on their social media profiles. Now, body dysmorphia, these things like, I'm not adequate enough, I don't have enough money, I'm not good enough. Other people are happy, I'm sad, I'm rubbish, they're better. This is what's been created by social media. As a result, because people, they want the good life, they want the good stuff, they will even go to haram, unfortunately, to acquire it. But that is not the solution to the problem. Like I said, it would be better for that individual to have nothing and have halal and tayyib rather than have masses, but yet wallahi he can't even sleep, or yet alone be worried that his house is tapped, his car is tapped, he can't even speak in public. So I'm saying these are first-hand experience. You see the people with the big cars. No, they're not. Don't be fooled by this. And I'm telling you, the only time someone will show their true colors and you will show your true colors is when you're by yourself at night and you know no one is watching you. That's when you're the most vulnerable. Because you know who you really are, what you really are, what you're capable of. And I swear by Allah, I've had people say to me, I just cry myself to sleep. Cry myself. I had this one brother, Ajib's, that's one of the people you meet, crazy. He goes, this is one Muslim brother now. He said to me, he used to go raving every weekend. Masjid Abdul, but before I go sleep, I definitely say the kalima. Definitely I say the kalima, just in case if man dies, at least I said the kalima. Now he's going raving the whole night, but he himself in his heart, he knows what's right and what's wrong. Don't be fooled. And this is why I say these ulama that play a crucial role. The society, my dear brother, my respected Maulana, will not give you your respect because you teach the madrasa. They will not give you and afford you the privilege that you are safeguarding the iman of your local communities. But trust me, wallahi, the impression you made on that 5-year-old, 7-year-old, 10-year-old, 14-year-old, in those madrasa days, wallah, this will last beyond them times of maktab and will last until their dying days. The reason why I say this is because when a person experiences true sukoon and peace, it will only come through the deen of Allah. When a person thinks back and remember the good feelings they had, I guarantee it will be something which is lasting in relation to the deen. But you need to facilitate that environment. Gone are the days when we can just shout at the children and say, read, a backhander, force, punishments. That's not even in the sunnah. I'm not for that. I've never been for that. Bring it back, even if it was illegal, I wouldn't be for that. Because it's not in the sunnah to be like that. But yet, if we can create an environment where children love coming to the house of Allah, they love being a part of the masjid, then believe me, part of the solution is done. So like I said, the dini environment is not there for a lot of these people. Hence they can go into these paths. They've not exposed themselves to anything, and they don't feel comfortable to be able to come and talk to anybody. So the easy option is to do something haram. It's easy as an option. And I'm telling you this now. If we have a policy where we're constantly in people's faces in the house of Allah, next man on the road who's willing to shot them a rock or two, he's going to meet them with a smile. That's another youngster we've lost. That's another sister who we've lost. So this is why it's important, imperative. Those who are connected to the deen of Allah, embrace everyone like your brother. Try and speak to them on a level. That doesn't mean, na'uzubillah, we agree with their haram. You put it across subtly. But if we become judgmental, we become authority, or like as an authority over people, it won't last long, I'm telling you. People will move away from us and shun away from us. As I mentioned to you, right, because of now, unfortunately, we're having a big kind of wide gap, and social media has kind of exacerbated the problem. You've got a lot of class difference between rich and poor. And unfortunately, things are going to head more that way now. You know, with more people, you know, you have rich on this side, poor on this side, the spectrum is only going to widen, you get me? So now what's going to happen is that the people who are coming from a poor, broken home, what they're going to aspire to be is someone who is rich. Now it doesn't matter how they get it, they want it. But what caused the problem? Social media made the problem worse. Because look, if someone takes a picture of themselves in mash-up clothing, hair disheveled and says, I'm depressed, that's not going to get likes. But what people do is that they make themselves look good, add a filter, make themselves smile, represent themselves, present themselves, take the picture, upload it, and that's what we're presenting to the outside world. It's false. It's a false picture of reality. But yet a youngster comes from a broken home. He wants that life. He aspires for that life. The easy way around it, pick up some mals, shot a few things here and there, chabi or two, make 10, 15 bags, roll around in a motor, butter chaps, be the man, and people now, they won't like you, they will be afraid of you. وَأُكْرِمَ الرَّجُلْ مَخَافَةَ شَرِّ. This is the sign of the day of Qiyamah. People won't be respected because they respect you, they will respect you because they're afraid of you. It's fake izzah, fake respect, because people know I have to keep it tight with my man, because na'uzubillah, there's going to be this repercussion if I don't. Again, you're living a fake life. There's no real muhabbat. I'm telling you, the only place for real muhabbat is good, honest, hard work. Where people can see what he did, what she did was off their pure sweat of their brow. They worked for that. Because if it was that easy, you would have done the same thing. Rather, people did a rat move and did a snidey one to do some moves, and they earned a heck of a lot of money. But this is what was causing the violence, you see, because when you're stepping on someone's thing, but that's my bread and butter, that's my future, that was my aspiration of seeing billionaires. You know, subhanAllah, there's only about 2,000 or so billionaires, 2,600 billionaires within the world. But you have YouTube pages dedicated, billionaires mindset, billionaire motivation. Brothers, it's like every second or third man is a billionaire. It's a false picture which is being painted, but we fall into the trap because of aspirations only for this worldly life. Hence my second point. When you are focusing too much on this worldly life, transitory, station, passing by time, that is when a person becomes victim to their desires, and hence crime, drugs, and these avenues become easier and more open to a person. So again, unfortunately, right, in our area, the reason why the crime is also on and up, sadly, is because if you, look, no one wants to be classed as a snitch within a society. If you tell of somebody, then people are going to hear your name, and na'uzubillah, the repercussions are going to come on that individual. People then, hence, are not even ready to speak up. Because they say, now, if my name gets out, if I G'd someone up, or grasped someone up, or I snaked on someone, the problem's going to come on their shoulders. So it becomes a vicious cycle where people are silenced, people don't do nothing. But then, as Muslims, what do we do? Do we just turn a blind eye? Do we pretend it's not happening in our communities? Now, alhamdulillah, I'm not saying this is a perfect community, but alhamdulillah, I will say, wallahi, through the barakah of your senior elders, they made a lot of effort. Honestly, I mean, you have to take your hat off where due. Okay, look, I said in the beginning, didn't I? Well, as time develops, we need to kind of adapt the approach and think of, but we can't deny what our elders have done for us in the past. They established great masajid, great madaris, alhamdulillah. If it was not for that jaddujuhd, if it was not for that effort, then brothers, we would not be sitting here today. We have to acknowledge where, we give respect where due. Alhamdulillah, old is gold. However, the issue we've got today, as I mentioned, is in a different focus. A lot of elders won't know what the youngsters are going through, and that's why I say to my respective elders this one particular sentence. There's mostly youngsters here, but for the few who are listening, alhamdulillah, that if we just give the youngsters a chance to be able to speak about their needs in an open-minded way, believe me, we can also be a means of stopping more doors of fitna opening. Every youngster wants to achieve acknowledgement, they want to achieve respect. These are two key ingredients, to be acknowledged and to be respected. If somebody uploads a picture and no one puts a like on that picture, how's that going to make that person feel? Not very good for their self-esteem. If they have 100 likes, they've got the recognition which they wanted. All of a sudden, even though it's fake, even though it's manipulated and manufactured, the person still feels gassed. If someone likes me. Respect. If you speak to someone down, you're going to get a negative response. If you speak to someone as an equal, you're going to get an equal response. If you speak to someone with respect and honor, they're going to reciprocate and give back. It's a part of human nature. The same thing is with our youngsters. If we think that I'm going to speak to someone, again, I mentioned this but on a slightly different way. I gave the first example about speaking about Mantul on road, and the second one now to our youngsters. If we want to get results, you're going to have to speak to them with a bit of respect and say, look, you know what's going on. What do we need in our community? What do we need in our society? I'm not saying we change the status quo, but we need to we need to adapt what we have to make a difference within our society. I'm going to have 3 more minutes and 40 minutes we go, but then inshallah we're going to start some Q&A inshallah. Now look, I know one issue, some people are going to say that the solution to the problems undoubtedly are laws of the country. I agree with that. I personally, I'm a strong believer, if the penalties were harsh, there would not be these problems in society. I mean, did you hear about the acid attacks that were happening in London? These are big problems. Some youth comes on a motorcycle, dashes some acid in the next man's face, scars them for life, and gets only 18 months in a prison. What's that? That individual who you've disfigured for the rest of their life, they're going to stand in front of that mirror, looking at their face every time. They're going to see the scars you put. You've been more emotionally traumatized that person till their death. How is it equal that they only get 18 months and they'll come out after 9 as well? I'm a strong, and this is why I say, you know when people say Muslims want to bring laws and tertiary and sharia and so on, listen, our thing, right, our deen is about bringing adl and justice in the whole of society. We only know it best to bring it through the deen of Allah. We're not going to force it on anybody, but I'm a strong advocate. Wallahi, my raya inshallah will never change. I only believe that the logical, sane solution for the whole of mankind is only in following Qala Allah and Qala Rasul. Bas. That's my own standpoint. Does that mean that we can't live in this society? Of course we can. We're not going to impose our faith on others. But yeah, I've got a mindset, I've got an opinion. I strongly believe that there are certain rules within Islam that, had they been implemented, would dramatically reduce crime. Dramatically reduce crime. And one of them is the sentencing. Now, if someone stabs someone, he's now going to be a guest of Her Majesty's prison service for maybe 4 years, 5 years, possibly 10 years. He will come out after 5. And he comes out like the Incredible Hulk, all pumped up, because he's getting 3 meals a day. He can apply for, mashallah, going gym time. And next man comes out looking literally like Ronnie Coleman. You know, at the end of the day, he's living a nice, luxurious life within that prison. If you were to put hard labor on that individual, whoa, let's see if people start doing crime then. Because what was really sad, right, and I wrote the name of this, right, there was a guy called Jamal Boyce. Did anyone ever hear Jamal Boyce's story? Wallahi, really sad, man. A youngster from London, Brixton I'm sure it was, South London sort of area. And what happened was that he was only 17 at the time. One of his friends, they got into like a little bit of a debate and so on, and his friend was carrying a piece, and he stabbed him. Now, he stabbed him so bad that it just bypassed his heart, punctured the lung. Obviously, mashallah, we have a doctor here, he'll tell you how severe the issue is. You know, the brain stopped functioning for a certain amount of time, the brain was starved of oxygen. Fast forward, what happened to the guy? I don't need to give you a medical diagnosis of what happened. A young, healthy boy, mashallah. Everything going for him, was intelligent, he had his life ahead of him. Now, because of the infliction of what happened, he's literally now, the only word to put it, as they call it, as a cabbage. He cannot do nothing for himself. He has to be fed. He has to be cleansed. He's incontinent. He can't even withhold his stool and his urine. All that. And what did the person get? What, 5-10 years in prison? That's not justice. That's not adl. This is why I say the solution to our problems is definitely in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. And I'm going to advocate this wherever I strongly believe in this. However, in the absence of that, at least the laws should be more tough. It should be a deterrent for some people. But it's not that, unfortunately. Now, one person's life gets taken away and robbed. Now, subhanAllah, one woman, her son got stabbed on her doorstep. On her doorstep. And died on her own doorstep. Every time she unlocks the key to her own home, she revisits the trauma of going past her own son's body. Who's going to pay for that trauma? How can you quantify such an amount of trauma that a woman goes through? But you see, this is the thing, my dear brothers. The people who you and I look up to, na'uzubillah, the same dramas that people are talking about in drill and trap and I'm going to do this and my postcode and these funny signs. Who are we looking up to? What, these are our ideals. These are the people who we're trying to aspire to follow. What about those examples of Sahaba who at the age of 13, subhanAllah, presented themselves for the nusrat and the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What about the likes of Muhammad bin Qasim, who was only 17, but Allah made it such that he conquered sin? Osama bin Zayd, 17, 19, young Sahabi. And yet he was made the leader of the entire army of the Muslims at the time. Where are the golden lights of these individuals? Imam Shafi'i, at the age of 13 years old, he was proficient, well versed in all the Islamic sciences. By the time he was 14, he was already writing fatwas. In his time, Imam Malik was a teacher of hadith at the time of 17 in Medina. In Medina, guys. Imagine, was there any shortage of tabi'un at that time? Was there any shortage of scholars? He was an ustad of hadith at the age of 17. I agree and I understand we might not be able to produce the likes of Imam Malik and Sufyan ibn Uyayna and Mus'ab ibn Umayr and the likes. But come se kam we can do this, that we don't have to be a menace to society. Na'udzubillah, we don't have to be drug dealers and na'udzubillah run. Even some people, look how they misuse the deen. Some youths, I don't know if you guys come across this, but I won't mention the name because we're not here to name and shame people, but we're going to talk about the crime. What some youngsters did, they downloaded some app, na'uzubillah, the app wasn't a decent one. It's a dating app, but more so for the same gender. Okay? So now what they were doing was, linking people up, saying, link me at a certain place, and they would mash them up. They would just beat them up. Well, why are you doing such a thing for? And you're bringing Islam into disrepute because your name is Muhammad and 3 Muslim brothers are doing this. Look how some people they're even thinking is. So we have to think holistically, wide. Whatever I do, whatever actions I do is going to have a negative repercussion in our community. I was driving past and I saw the sign Rotherham. Have a guess what the second thing in news that came into my mind was? Exactly. It's part of our subconscious. You can't remove it because it was spoken about so much. Rotherham. The next sentence, you guys know what it is. That's what it's called about social engineering of people. You hear something so much that it thinks... If I say to you, for example, one word. If I say to you the word Hamas, what comes to your mind? If I say to you the word, Sharia. What does Sharia mean? Instantly, what comes to some people's mind? Barbaric, hand-cutting. Is that all you can think of about the Sharia? What about when you are full and your neighbor is hungry? Part of the Sharia is that you give your food to them. You share with them. A Muslim is not that individual who sleeps with a full stomach and yet his neighbor is hungry. That's also the Sharia. How about your neighbor? They can't put their rubbish out. You help them do that for them. This is my job. We're neighbors. We'll help each other. This is part of the Sharia. Do you see, unfortunately, we've been socially engineered. Whenever you hear something, boom, negative association. And that's what's happened. Whenever I went past Rotherham, boom, that's that place. You get me? Where that crime happened. I've been there before, but unfortunately, see, that's the negative association. We as a community, we're Muslims. Don't think of yourself as Batley Muslim. Oh, mashallah, the Batley Muslims are okay, alhamdulillah. Mashallah, Gujarati chokras, they're fine, and mashallah, and the Punjabi Mundes, they're all... No, bro, you've got to take this out of your mind. If someone is going to commit a crime, someone's going to do something wrong in the name of Islam, we're all getting gripped. All of us. So it's a menace to our whole society. Inna Allah la yu'adhibu al-'amma bi'amal al-khasa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never punish the general masses because of the actions of a few. حتى إذا تعمل العامة خاصة بعمل تقدر العامة أن تغيره ولا يغيره. What happens is, when the general masses, when the masses of the people, the amma, the general masses, when they are able to stop a society's menace, they have the potential to do it, but they allow it to carry on, despite having the ability. That is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He makes decision and decides, am and khas, both will be gripped up in the menace. So just because a certain area is safe, we think, alhamdulillah, I'm okay, we're okay. No, we don't need to talk about these things. These are things of Bradford, these are things of Birmingham, these are things of Sheffield, not here. We're okay. Until when? Until when? Because youngsters in our time, my dear brother, they're living a dual life. One is your public life and one is the home life. And a lot of people like to show one image and they act upon another. I swear by Allah, if you could see what people's IP addresses were doing, you'd know exactly what I'm talking about. So like I said, there are a lot of issues within our community, but like I said, I can't address everything. I spoke specifically about some of the asbab and the reasons for crime. And I said undoubtedly, one of the biggest menaces undoubtedly is the issue of drugs. I mean, there was one person was saying, I won't even get out of bed unless there's £1,000 to be earned. La ilaha illallah, for real. All haram money. How many lives you've destroyed just by you making a move or two? Okay, you earn 20 grand, 30 grand, even if you earn 100 million. Until when? When and how is that money going to be lasting forever? How? And what barakah? What benefit? What good will it bring in society? And you think Allah's just going to let that go? It's okay. You can just carry on, be scot-free, minor, don't watch that. No. Allah's qanun doesn't work that way. In dunya, yeah, you can get away with something temporarily in terms of being struck by Allah. But wallahi, that money will not bring any khair, it will not bring any barakah, it will not bring any peace and tranquility. This is why I say, right, is that what's caused the problem? I said, lack of understanding of akhirah, too much focus on this dunya. Social media has exacerbated the problem because unfortunately people are in a rich and poor divide. But yet, if we focus too much on this worldly transitionary life, then that's what's going to happen. So these are some of the issues. Now, I've got here, right, let me just share some of these things with you. I've got some, it says not all doom and gloom. I've got some solutions here as well. And I should have mentioned this a few minutes ago, but Quba, I heard a yawn as well, so bro, hold on, yeah, we just nearly finished, man. Okay, so one of the things, right, and these are my humble suggestions, one of the things is that obviously spirituality and faith-based organizations undoubtedly can play a major role in this. Our masjids, they still hold a very important place in the people's hearts, alhamdulillah. Masjids, A'imma, Ulama Hazrat, Khutaba, you have a fard on your heads to speak rago haq. We can't be people that are going to shy away, or the taboo subject, but don't worry what people think. Speak the haq. Speak the haq, don't worry inshallah. And I'm telling you, the problem is, listen, I'll back it up what I want to say about Quran and Hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ. Right or wrong? Allah is referring to the ibil and so on. Why didn't Allah Ta'ala say the sky or the moon or... No, because the camel was in front of every Arab. They can identify it. They understand what the ibil was. Allah talks about kujur and qitmir and so on. Because the Arabs were eating kujur daily. It's relevant. If we're not relevant, people are not going to connect to us. Has to be relevant. And I haven't used any bad language. I haven't sworn. I don't think I've said anything guna. I hope not anyway. Ulama, hey, it's your job to correct me if I have. But yet we have to be relevant. So spiritual, faith-based organizations have a big part to play in this. Number 2, youth clubs and so on. Also very important. We underestimate the importance of this. Because people like to be part of the organization, the community. You get me? Where you like all linger together, meet together, mix together, jam together. That's human nature. And you're either going to do it in a halal way or you're going to do it in a haram way. So we need to create avenues. When I mean youth clubs, it doesn't have to be, even if they're not directly part of the masjid, even if they're separate, it's okay. Our people in our community shouldn't look at that as a separatist dark side. Okay, these are just separatists. Or new fitna, new group. No, support them, give them your du'as. Because let's be realistic, if you've got a chairman, I'm not chairman specifically, I'll use the word, if you've got an organization and the leaders of that are all people who are mashallah healthy and seasoned, a youngster who's shot in Mile on Huddersfield Road is not going to come to him. He's going to want to go to the youngster. You're going to have to bring these people on board. We're going to have to connect to these people. Because they're going to connect to them inshallah. So like I said, give them the space. Work together in harmony. You're not losing your power. We've got to work together. But like I said, the youth clubs need to be run by the youth. Because they know what's going on. We don't give them a free rein because youngsters can do some crazy stuff, but we have involvement. But one of the key ways to do it is, well, get young ulama on board. Young ulama, because alhamdulillah, if those ulama have been trained and studied properly, they will understand the boundaries of the deen. Because let me make it very, very clear. So long as what we do as a community is in line with the sharia and the deen of Allah, and there's ikhlas, inshallah there will be benefit in that. Definitely. Anything out of this boundary will only create nuqsan and harm. So number two, that was number two. Number three is intervention and mentoring for the youth. Very important. If we don't have these skills of intervention and youth management or mentoring, we're going to have a big gap between the two. Now this is where I would say, I love my respected ulama, but in all due respect is that we ourselves are going to need to kind of sharpen the saw a little bit, to use mashallah Kobe's terms, and kind of fix up and learn a little bit on how to deal and have human experience, like psychology, counseling. These things are important. We've got to understand the mindset of people. If you're not on the same mindset, how is it we're going to connect to people? Now, like I said, I'm talking, some people will relate to what I'm saying. I'm not doing anything magical. I mentioned only 2-3 hadiths at the tops. So I'm not saying what I'm saying, is out of the Quran and Sunnah, but I'm saying that why people are connecting to it, because it's on your language, you understand that. So again, it's about psychology, understanding the mindset of the people. What do people need? And likewise, again, we need to have those intervention programs, again, in the masjid, outside the masjid, but as a community, we need to have this. How about, like, subhanAllah, one person said, even have like drug line numbers. This is for the Batley, this is for the Jew. I'm telling you, how many people will call? I was dealing with one brother and he said to me, the alcohol problem we have in Leicester amongst Muslims is one of the highest per rata across the country. And I'm thinking, nah, Leicester. I'm going there, I'm seeing Jamia, I'm seeing IDA, I'm seeing mashallah Mawlana Ismail's place, Masjid, Jaming, left, right. You got mashallah Markaz there and everything. It's not happening. Efforts are there, but at the same time there's the shar which is also there as well. But because why we get fooled and duped is not public. It's done quietly. And because people know that if I get caught outside with alcohol, then I'm named and shamed. So they do it quietly. But yet if there was an avenue where people could come and speak and say, look, I've got this problem, I really need help, without the fear of being judged, I'm telling you we could solve the problem more. Not solve the problem, it won't just solve overnight, but it will help the problem, inshallah. Again, next one, community intervention program. That will be going into schools. Muslims need to play an active role. We need to be more out there in the wider community. Let people know that Muslims are playing their part in society as well. Alhamdulillah, guys, look, we have the solution to all the problems within our deen. If we say we haven't, then you need to say your kalma again, blatantly. Then you are saying subconsciously that Islam is not a complete religion. If we haven't got the answer, it reminds me, I was with a doctor. Mashallah, long story cut short anyway, we was having some food and alhamdulillah, good brother, mashallah. And I was lamenting saying, Dr. Saab, one issue I've got, right? Well, actually, I didn't say Dr. Saab, he's actually Egyptian. So I said, Doctor, the problem I've got, right, is I get approached by people and they're asking me this question and that question and a politic, and he said to me, and rightly so, Sheikh. Rightly so. And I'm like, okay. And then he goes, if you don't have a solution to the problem, then who's going to have a solution to the problem? You studied the deen. We only studied medicine. And I was like, wow. Look how Allah Ta'ala sends people for the islah of some people. I thank that brother. Wallahi, this conversation we had 4 or 5 years ago, but it's stuck in my mind. Because he made a very valid point. Everything within the deen, there is a solution for. We will find something, some reference, somewhere. If you say you haven't got a solution to the problem, that means na'uzubillah, subconsciously we're saying deen is not complete. So again, going out in the wider community, addressing the problems by going into the schools, going into the colleges, having the drug awareness campaigns run by the Muslims themselves and saying, advocating, we have the solution to the problems as well. And then inshallah, like this, working in the wider community. Again, but then when you talk about community on a micro scale, definitely the parents. Parents have a responsibility to recognize signs, recognize issues. If a youth walking in 2 o'clock at night, red eye, saying, yeah, I'm just was out for the night. A person should know, hold on a second, those pupils look a bit dilated to me, son, where have you been? Don't be so gullible. So we have to be a bit savvy as well to know what are the signs, what do people do, what are they getting up to. Because it wasn't, before there was a thing, someone would do something, addiction would take place over time. With the nature of drugs which we've got, overnight, people can become addicts. There's no time for us to be lax. Overnight, someone can become a drug addict. And I don't need to give you funny names because you all know the name of them. It only takes one or two particular instances and someone is hook, line and sinker. They are done. Do you understand? This is why we as parents, elders of the community, brothers, see people in those scenarios, talk to them, reach out to them. But don't say to them, "Hey brother, I see those guys, what you, yeah?" No, that's going to shun, they're going to walk away. Sit with them, talk with them, interact with them. Be there as that heart, that shoulder they need to cry on. Listen, no one goes to these substances just for the fun of it. You do have some people that just for the shock of trying it, but that's sometimes out of peer pressure. People have a dependency, or they build a dependency because they're filling a void within themselves. Listen to this very carefully. There is a gap, there is something which they're feeling as inadequacy within themselves. And they think the only way to fill that, or to fulfill that void is to do some form of substance or something. They get a high, temporarily, the band-aid, the plaster is on. But when it pulls off, it's the same scenario, but now it's even worse. You ripped it off with force. You're on a come down. The high is not as bad as the low. The low, then to get back again, you take another one. And you pop again. And then you line again. And then you inject all these things again and again. Then what happens? Before it was this much, now it's increased, now this much. And then it starts increasing more and more. You start becoming less, you become immune to it. And that's how unfortunately drug dependency then creeps in. But we can't always jump on person, he's just a drug addict. Why? What was the underlying causes? What were the reasons? What made him go towards that direction? Why did he choose that way? Behind everything there's a reason. It can't just be out of a vacuum. The man just turned and became a junkie. So we've got to understand that we've got to give time to people as well. That's why I said parent responsibilities, training, community awareness. Obviously, I already said about harsher laws and so on. But like I said, these are just some humble points I wanted to share with you from a lecture which I had. And I really do feel, alhamdulillah, Muslims, we have the solutions to our problems. But we need to be more proactive within our communities. We need to do more, we need to act more, we need to act quick. And alhamdulillah, we need to prove as well to the outside community that we as well can have a solution to the wider problems. And we are, inshallah, will not only talk about it, but we will act it as well. So there are loads of things, numbers, like I said, intervention groups, educational circles, workshops, masjid. We all can play our active part. Even if you can't do nothing, the least you can do is be a voice of concern for your relatives, your brothers, sisters, people around your local community. This much as a responsibility as the haqq on every individual. May Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq, inshallah, to make amal and practice. And may Allah Ta'ala inspire us on the good which with that has been said. I'm not saying everything was good, maybe something wasn't befitting the house of Allah. But nothing was said maliciously or incorrectly or wrong with a wrong intent rather. So we make dua that Allah accept the good and forgive us for the bad. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gather us like this in akhirah as well, inshallah, in Jannah al-Firdaus. Now like I said, keeping up my side of the bargain, because I know food is coming, it's not too far away. If anybody has any sensible questions in relation to what we've said about the topic, okay, then please, if you want to ask them, by all means, so long as they're based, not just random. If you want to talk about something random, then inshallah we're here as well, but specifically about the topic. Because I did say I'll entertain any questions in relation to what we've said. If anybody has them, inshallah. I mean, it would have been more ideal for people to write them, because it's awkward. If I say something, I offend next man, what are they going to say? I appreciate that, but there isn't the facility of pen and writing down here. So if anybody wants to take the himmat, inshallah, fire away. And then according to my ability, I'll try to answer the question, inshallah. If anybody has one. Yeah.
So you mentioned some ideas of medication.
Yes.
Because in our community, I think the biggest distributor is the community, and we're Batley is quite famously known for how we move. So from your experience, have you seen any really relevant ideas that have worked? You mentioned one of them, which was the helpline. Any other ones?
See, what it is, the helpline thing is for people who are already on the drugs themselves.
And also the difference between a drug dealer, how do you deal with a drug dealer and a drug addict?
Yeah. See, what it is, the person who's got a dependency, they themselves, obviously, you can have like intervention, phone, some form of counselling, and then something physical as well. They may need to go see a doctor, perhaps get prescribed something. Look, one of the most important things is that these people who are hooked on a substance, you have to give them some alternative. Because the serotonin, the dopamine, oxytocin, these sort of like chemicals that release good feelings in the body, you need to replace it with something. It's not going to you can't just fill a void if there's a void. That's why we've got to create healthy, like things like, for example, now being part of a community, even things like exercise, changing the diet. These are things that can help. Okay, it's not going to solve the problem overnight, because if someone's got a dependency, to just go cold turkey is a big ask. A big ask. They have to wean themselves off. Wean themselves. I mean, I know one brother, subhanAllah, honestly, may Allah reward him. He, great taklif, bichara. He was on some mad stuff. And then he slowly got himself to an extent where he used to just wait for Isha so he could pray Isha, and then mashallah, then that how much he had control. As soon as Isha he prayed, then he would relapse into his haram. Now I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying if this much he built himself up from being totally dependent to going keeping away from things, and then Isha. And then slowly what happened was, then alhamdulillah, slowly with the help of certain things he got rid of it. But like I said, there needs to be a stronger thing in place of talking. Firstly, the acknowledgement. I have a problem, I need help. Acknowledging. Secondly is going to the avenues of help. It might mean talking therapy, talking to someone, a doctor, someone, even getting help with something prescribed. And then to create other alternatives that gave you the serotonin and the dopamine release. Meaning something to give you a high, a spiritual high. The people who are dealing themselves, if we ourselves, first and foremost, it has to be on a one-to-one basis. If you hold a workshop for drug dealers, no one is coming. It's not going to happen simply because people are going to say that I'm going to go there and going to be judged. Okay? Honestly, this is why I'm in such favor of tabligh work and da'wah and general one-to-one effort. Because it takes one person to go up to one person and talk to that individual. Now this much I can say, alhamdulillah, those people who I interacted with, I know that perhaps there and then they didn't change their lives, but I'm sure, judging by their tears, looking at their faces, that definitely I touched a nerve with these people. We've just got to plant a seed and leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means ourselves, we can't be judgmental, we've got to be approachable. We've got to approach these brothers with love, literally. If we approach them like we're the police, we're the ones that are telling them off, it won't last. They will just literally turn away. So we've got to approach these brothers with love and muhabbat. And I'm telling you, if we just kind of like build a rapport with people, that is the first step in their reformation. Secondly, of course, once we've built up that connection, it then is to kind of like talk to them a bit more about the things of deen, having a chat with them. Look, I've been invited to some crazy places, honestly. And some places obviously haven't been, there's something that are quite tricky, some places are not so tricky. But all I'm going to say is that you're going to have a bit more of a bigger heart. You're going to have to want to go to these people, talk to them one-to-one, and you're going to have to build up a connection. One thing is, if you can grab one of these people, the influence they hold on their society and their community is massive. You will not be able to wield the same influence as they do. So this is why, in all fairness, the only solution to this problem is working one-to-one, and that is the only way you're going to get through to someone like that. You can't entice them through money because they earn 100 times more than what you can ever think you can earn. You can't entice them with other things because the majority of things are haram. What can you encourage someone who's on road with? What can you physically offer them? You need to offer them the muhabbat and the love, the thing which got them there in the first place. Because what generally makes people go, another thing, is the absence of any sort of stability within their homes. People that come from a broken home, it's easy to recruit people like this because they're looking for that muhabbat and the affection, they're starving for it. So if someone needs that fatherly figure in their life, that brotherly figure, and you've given them that opportunity, what happens is they build a connection and a rapport with you. Do you guys understand where I'm coming from? What got them into the haram in the first place? Yeah, next man's got my back, Aki's on road, this brother's helping me out, we're brothers. He's not your brother, he's using you. He's using you. So this is why we need to create those avenues, but in a halal way for the brothers, for people to start realizing. The money thing, it's not going to ever happen. The only way to stop that is to understand, again, realization that I can have, like subhanallah, I remember there's one youngster, Ajib. One brother, Na'uzubillah, he used to do some crazy stuff. He was only 15 years old. He had £3,000 in his pocket, £3,000 of haram money. He was so hungry, and yet across the road, the guy was selling doner kebab and chicken wings, 4 for £1. And he was saying, I can't even spend £1 of this money because I know it's haram. Now look at the mentality of that. He's got £3,000 in his pocket, he made in the haram way. But he can't even go and buy himself £1 of chicken wings. Then he thought to himself, I must be a proper loser, that I can't even spend this money. Now where did that education come from? Where did that ta'aleem come from? Maybe someone in the past, maybe a halqa, ta'aleem, a bayan, the Jummah khutbah, a dars. a nasiha, one brother to the next. It lingers, it will kick in, it will have its day, really. It will happen. And that's what made him then turn back. And believe me, now the brother, Ajib, I met this one brother now, he was becoming a Maulana, he'd memorized 10 paras of Quran. I don't want to say where he's from because obviously geographically things are tight these days, you know. But this much I will say, subhanAllah, the brother where he was to where he is. But you know what made me really sad? The parents actually liked it when he was on road because they would bring in thousands of pounds. That's what made me cry when I heard the story. Because he would buy his mum gold bangles and send them on luxury holidays. He would come home, chuck his bag at home, Friday night he would be out of the country, he'd come back Sunday night. So this country, how? What life? What life? He made tawbah from everything. Now, mashallah, white jubba, topi. You'd look at him, you think, bro, this is a pure tablighi, pure Maulana, pure dini brother, khankai guy. But no, his past is different from what he is now. But you see, he must have heard a nasiha. So I say, give the brothers nasiha in a gentle way. Inshallah, they say in Urdu, rang dikhayega, inshallah. That's all we can do. I think in that, there's a good couple of questions that answered already. Some brothers are probably nodding their head, they agree with me as well.
Next question.
Let's have a look, Maulana. Let's have a look, inshallah. Some questions are bait. Okay, other than being non-judgmental, what other skills should youth workers have? Obviously there's more mentioned here, but that's the khulasa. Look, non-judgmental attitude, an open ear to listen, okay, but at the same time, you have to have boundaries in place. This is very important to have boundaries, and I'll explain to you why. So one is non-judgmental. If someone says to you, oh, you know, Maulana, by the way, I do this haram. A personal experience. I was with one brother, and he said to me, you know, I'm married, and I got married again twice, but unfortunately I've met this one girl, and so this brother, he got married wife, he's got two wives, and now he's on doing haram on a third. So I'm listening, I'm saying, look, inshallah, what we do is that, you know, firstly, you understand that, look, it's wrong. What if someone, you know, if somebody did that to your door, how would you feel? Like, oh, brother, don't even talk about that, don't even go there, don't even go there. So he understands what he's doing is wrong. But it just so happened, you know, some people, they like a fatwa shop. Like I was with the brothers earlier on, someone phoned me, asked me a long masala. Is this jais, that jais? And I said, they said, oh, I'm just phoning some imams to get some opinions. It is my normal habit, when anyone phones me, the first thing I ask, who have you asked this masala from already? Because we don't want to be like, you know, just like fatwa shopping. We just want to see your opinion. What's your opinion? Anyway, it just so happened, I got duped into it. Because I was driving, I wasn't paying attention, answered automatically, Bluetooth, mashallah, we stick to the laws. So what I don't know is that now I just started firing away, not thinking about it, but what was the point in asking that question? Anyways, khair. So I was talking about what skills, non-judgmental. Non-judgmental. Firstly, you have to be non-judgmental, be open to people, allow them to, you know, if they come to you with a certain problem, just listen. And that's the second thing. Active listening. It doesn't mean you have to actively listen to people. When people are talking, don't think in your advance, what nasiha am I going to give? Stay with them, just listen to them. There's a whole host of skills that you can develop. Mimicking body language, being on the same level, you know, there's a whole host of skills. I can't give you a whole breakdown of a counselling session, but number one is being non-judgmental, active listening. But number three, boundaries. You always should have boundaries in place. If somebody says, if for example now, what I mean by boundaries is that if people don't feel safe around you, then they're not going to speak to you. You should know your limits as well. You should be entirely confidential. Now this is what I personally say. Someone comes up and says, look, I need to speak to you about something. And I say to them this, look, are you talking to me as an imam? Are you talking to me as a brother? Are you talking to me as a counsellor? Which capacity do you see me? Let's establish this first. In my personal and professional life, obviously there's difference in how I'll interact with people. But how I work professionally, when I work in counselling and so on, I establish firstly that, hold on a second, anything you say is 100% confidential unless you disclose to me a major crime. A major crime. Act of terrorism, money laundering, something along the lines like this. You get me? Some mash up stuff. I can't keep that quiet. You can't hold me to be silent for that. And then it comes to then I say, look, and if it got a major harm to yourself, a major harm to others, I can't keep that quiet. But if someone comes and says, well, I've got this addiction, I've got that problem, up until now I watch these funny films online, okay, fine, that's yourself. Quba, let's work on the issues. Let's solve the problems. Let's take one at a time. Which one do you feel is most important to you first? Which one would you like to get rid of first? Talk to them. But like I said, you have to be very, very we don't say secretive, there's no, we can't ensure and guarantee quietness. But we just say, look, I can keep confidentiality to this boundary. And if you say, we can talk for half an hour, don't talk for 45 minutes. Let me explain to you why. It may seem, oh, I was being a brother to the brother. No. You've given a message that you're loosing your boundaries. That means if you can be taken advantage of, someone can take advantage of you. Do you get that? It's important to understand this. If the brother says to me, I need 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'm going to say to him, brother, you said 5 minutes. Now either you tell me if you want more time and be specific, or we'll call it a day. It sends the message loud and clear. I need to have this, otherwise you will get shoved and torn to pieces left, right and center. People are going to call you 1 o'clock in the morning, Mawlana, I need your help right now. No, now is not the time. If you make that policy with people, you can phone me 24 hours a day, anytime, and Mawlana will be there. That's fine. You've sent that message, and if you say that, stick to that. But if you say, look, these are my time, please, I have family, and so, people should respect that, because if you don't hold on to your boundaries, they will take advantage of you, and you will not be able to build that rapport. Does that make sense? So it's important. It's not us being hard. If I say to someone, look, I'm available Saturday and Sunday all day, and someone phone me Monday and say, well, I've got this problem, I'll say, look, I've got this now, I possibly could squeeze, but now you have to be on my time. This is the time I can give you. Not just willy-nilly, I'm on my way to you because I've got a fight with the wife. No, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. Because if I'm too loose, that gives the message that I'm not going to treat this person right as well. He's going to be loose. So you have to be kind of a bit cruel to be kind as well, unfortunately, when it comes to this, to win the assurity of the people. If that makes sense. So, oh my days. That's like Kilimanjaro looking. I'm looking at these. Alright, okay, you go on. You just do that one, inshallah.
There's an Audi Q2 that needs to be moved, please. BO52YAS. It's blocking the business unit access. Please can someone move the car. So it's BO52YAS. Jazakallah.
Okay, so someone asked a question here. Any shisha concerns? Look, it's like this, right? Look, from a health point of view, the level of carbon monoxide, even in shisha pens, drool, and this and that, bro, they're not healthy. Okay, no one can clear cut say it's an absolute haram and you're condemned to the fire of Jahannam, because obviously I would say this much. It's definitely more harmful than beneficial. The stats go against being any form of benefit. So keeping that in mind, I would say avoid and abstain. One thing is a personal pen or a jewel or a little liquid and something which you're doing. And one is going to the actual shisha bars. It's just another name for a club in a halal way. That's the truth. The same thing happens there. Allah forbid, you got people busting full hijab there, literally shacking out and dancing, and they think that all you've got to do is call the doorman David instead of Dawood, and you've got a club. It's literally like that. There's no difference. So I have a problem with the bars, but then music and so on, there's vibes kicking off in there, people are literally jamming about. No, that's not a place of a Muslim. You've got to be careful. These places, too much temptation. There's too much temptation in these places. And alhamdulillah, look, don't get me wrong, the reason why we go there is because there is that temptation. It's like you can kind of be naughty and nice at the same time. You feel it's not too haram, but it's a bit of a halal and haram mix. Kind of keep the balance, barabar. No. Trust me, you're opening yourself up to too many temptations. I would say avoid this, inshallah. Believe me, you'll get much more benefit if you do. Now there's someone asked me, okay, basically, someone asked, can we or should we snitch on someone who's taking drugs? No, I wouldn't. The only time I would intervene is if the person was causing major harm to themselves or to others around them. I'm talking serious neglect. There's people who are lost. People are suffering seriously because of an individual. Then we need, have an intervention in place. And that's why I said intervention programs should run from the masjid. If we know someone's got a problem, try to. That does not mean we brush issues under the carpet. No. We cannot be complicit. We cannot be part of that haram. If someone is doing something wrong, we need to take active steps in ridding that haram from our society. Because I did say, didn't I? إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُعَذِّبُ الْعَامَ بِعَمَلِ الْخَاصَةِ. Allah won't punish the general masses because of the actions of a few. But if the actions of a few are such that the am have the potential of taking that away and they don't, Allah grips everyone up. So we're all responsible then. So what I say is that try to have interventions in place. Convince them that, look, if you've got a problem, brother, we need to get help. But really, what are you going to do? If somebody phones up and says to how can you grass up someone who's done a drug? Okay, someone's taken a drug, they're going to say, where's the evidence? Where's the proof? You've got to catch. And once someone knows you're a snitch, they're going to stay away from you. So it's a bit tricky as well. Do you get it? Now I did say though, this is now controversial, okay? What if someone is actually shotting them themselves? You'd be surprised, right? A lot of police know, I'm saying they know everyone, they have their nazar on a lot of people. You can't drive around in a £50,000 car at the age of 19, 20 and think the police don't have a shock on you. But what happens is that, I'm not saying it happens everywhere, but what it is, you're just a small fish amongst a pool and a school of fish. They need to knock out the big people. Because if you can take out the big, it stops a massive ripple effect. You just one person, next man jumps in and shots Smile again. It doesn't solve the problem. So I'm not saying the police knows it, they're not agreeing with it. Of course not. They want to stop it just as much as we do. But as a community, we need to tackle these individuals. And I swear down, I'm not joking. If you talk to these individuals, now again, because some people are so clever in how they do things, they can't be caught. And I don't want to give you a whole story on how and what people do, because na'uzubillah, we don't want to put ideas in people's minds. But the reality is, a lot of people can stay scot-free. They've got their runners. They do everything through other people. So no one can tie anything to them. And that's how they play it clever. Now, I honestly say, this is where I say blatant. If people don't take heed, people are still a problem to society, then you even cooperate with the law. I don't see no problem with that at all. This person's a menace to our society, wider society. But the reality is, if they're clever at what they do, they're going to get away with it. The only way to knock on that person's heart is to make them consciously aware of the harms they're doing, dunya being limited, akhirah being vast, the destruction they're doing to their lives, the lives of others around them. That way it will create this individual social change within people and people at large. Otherwise, you take off Abdul from the block, and next man Abdul is going to go there. Realistically, that's what it's like. It's sad, but it's a reality. See, no, look, I don't want to say this question yet, but like, you were talking about young brothers playing a part, but no names mentioned, but they're buying this. Look, we shouldn't be judgmental towards people. Of course, one thing is, look, if people are doing haram, that's between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If someone is doing something wrong, we don't condone their activities, meaning we don't speak positively about it, we say it's wrong. However, the problem is that we shouldn't be overly judgmental about people. So that's quite a statement to make. You're talking about, and the word is very general. You've generalized a lot in this. I don't want to say it specifically because you've mentioned a couple of things which are a bit hot. But all I'm going to say is like this, that if you've got shak on certain people doing certain things, you need to have 100% concrete evidence before you make any sort of decided fact that this person does X, Y, and Z. Yeah, very clearly. So that's why we say, look, look, and another thing, if you are a junior in terms of ilm, in knowledge, in age, you still have a God-given right to give nasiha to every individual. Your method has to be right. That's all it is. Does that make sense? If a young brother came to give me nasiha and advice, I would thank him for that, because I'm saying, Jazakallah, you've helped me stop ruining my akhirah. I shouldn't take offense to that. But if the brother's going to come across argumentative, shouting and screaming, disrespect, derogatory, then naturally I'm going to have a resistance. It's human emotion. I'm going to build up a and say, no, hold on a sec, I'm not accepting that. So if you think some people are doing some wrong, approach them, call them out on it, speak to them, but do it in a humble way, not in your face, argumentative type of thing, inshallah. And if someone does haram, it's between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You get me? Then you can't really do nothing other than that. Right, this is really, really, really important. And I'm going to be talking about this on my bayan on Sunday. The questions like this, we have... Okay, I'll answer this one first. If a person becomes addicted, how should they resolve the problem? Like I said, look, everyone becomes addicted because of fulfilling a gap and a void. Look, your mind is created in such a way that when you think of an unpleasant scenario, you don't do it or go to that thing because you know that it's going to create some discomfort. So sometimes you're even unaware of the problems that you have yourself. When you go to somebody who is more skilled and well versed in mental health issues, they will be able to see you're resistant around certain subjects. For example, if someone says, I've got this problem where... Alright, I'll give you the example of the phone earlier on. Someone said, I uploaded a picture, no one liked it, I felt sad. That's a very easy one, so you can follow this one. Instantly, that would tell me this person suffers from self-esteem issues. This person's got a problem maybe of body dysmorphia. They feel an inferiority complex. They're comparing themselves to their others. Right, that's the issue. Where did it come from? Who told them that they were not adequate enough? What's their definition of a success? What is their definition of a failure? It sounds philosophical. If you ask somebody, what's a successful person? Bro, someone's got to have their money, they've got to be... Okay, well, who told you that? Because you wasn't born with that in your brain. Oh, when I was growing up, my mum always said to me that if you don't become a doctor, then you're a waste man. Ah, so she was the one. Okay. So you see what it is. I know I'm giving a quick... It's not that easy because no one comes out that easy. And wherever you... Astaghfirullah, not that we promote films and stuff, but if you see anything online or dramatized, therapy doesn't work that way. Sometimes it can take hours, weeks, if not months to get truth out of people. You've got to build a rapport. Someone's got to feel so comfortable that if you tell them their your deepest, darkest secret, they know you're not going to judge them. And that will take time. Especially, unfortunately, I've experienced this. The more religious you are, some people, they will have a resistance to even talk to you. Have you heard of the brother who started the movement, Take the Block Back? Yeah. Anyone heard that brother? Take Back the Block. Okay, anyway, it's a brother, he just done a recent video in prison as well where he was saying, look, my mum saw, I grew up with the brother. I grew up with him. He literally just called me the other day. He goes to me, can we go, like, we're going to go up north and we're going to do a bayan. I'm like, yeah, let's go. So anyway, I was on the phone to him just the other day. What I'm saying is now this particular brother here, subhanAllah, I was just saying something and then I digressed. What was I saying before this? Sorry. 1 second. Because I was talking about him and my mind went somewhere else. Brother, what? Yeah, he recorded something in prison. That's what went viral. Jolly, it'll come to me in a second anyway. Because I looked at the clock, I saw the time, I'm thinking, damn, food's here in 15 minutes, and boom, my mind went blank. It was like an instant paranoia, it just knocked me off. Yeah, okay, one like this, okay, cool. I can kind of follow on. So what happened is that a person won't really talk to you unless they can really feel that there's a confidential thing there. If they feel that you're going to, again, that's why I said non-judgmental attitude and boundaries are very, very important. Without that, people won't even be able to open up. So we've got to create that vibe, inshallah, amongst our communities. There's something more, but inshallah, let's leave that there. But this question here really needs... Alright, someone asked me personally, where did you study? What was your journey? Oh, bruv, their dramas. A lot of stuff. But anyway, look, myself personally, I mean, look, to be honest, don't get fooled. Obviously, I'm not saying this out of humility and humble. Look, brother, straight up, I look at this as purely from ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He enables me the tawfiq to say a few words. Unfortunately, look, growing up, I grew up in a mixed culture. I'm half Pakistani, half English. Okay, I come from two mixed culture races, two religions. My mum's all side is Christian English. My dad's side all Pakistani Muslim. So we grew up, two cultures, two religions, and my family was very laid back. There was never no, I mean, for us, I chose to be a Muslim. It wasn't forced down my throat. So it made the logical sense. After making a few blunders myself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed me the way. And I'm going to say this much, obviously it's a whole story I can go into, and maybe inshallah one day we'll talk a bit more. But my first journey was more towards the sacred sciences. Otherwise I got expelled from one school, one madrasa, two colleges. I was a big problem. But the only place that could make me a semi-insan, and I use the word semi because I'm still not there, is the madrasa. I loved my madrasa. I loved it. I loved my ustad, and because my ustad was one of the most wonderful people I ever met. We would cause dramas, but yet he was so kind and so gentle and so nice, and I always had this wonderful image of my ustad. He had boundaries. So if he said, right, now is reading time, we knew if we didn't do that, back in the good old days, he'd give us a lick or two. However, as soon as class finished, right, now we can relax, now we're friends again. When class time is class time. So he kept us safe. Studying time is studying time, friend time is friend time. But he was so laid back, beautiful in his conduct, sunnah. Oh wow, honestly, what an amazing individual. So that I know from first-hand experience the effect of one Maulana can have on people, because I'm a first-hand experience of that. So nevertheless, what happened was that my inclination was always towards the Islamic sciences more. I never had the opportunity to, because my mum and dad split up from when I was a young age. I never had the opportunity to study. So alhamdulillah, I went down, I earned some money, saved up, went to study. But the thing that got me on my deen, more than anything, the initial, the madrasa was the passion. Obviously, studying in a maktab and so on. But the thing that kicked it off big time was the work of da'wat and tabligh. I have no qualms in saying this in every majma. Alhamdulillah, I've been loads of different maktab, I say the same thing. If it was not for the work of da'wat and tabligh, I would not be sitting here today. I openly say this. People may assume I'm linked with some other group or doing some effort here. No, my bunyad is tabligh. I got into deen through tabligh. I spent 3 days, alhamdulillah, I spent the 10 days. With the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we've been Nizamuddin Rai when we've done all the chakras, alhamdulillah. I'm only saying that not to boast or brag, but it's to also encourage as well. Don't look at it as something minor. It's a great effort for you to say, if you're doing it for your own islah, it's very beneficial. And alhamdulillah, obviously, with the grace of Allah, other things continued from there. Then I studied in the madrasa. And then after I graduated, I had this inclination firstly for Islamic banking. So I did a master's well. I never felt connected, you get me? Because it was like you're making fat cats more fat. And because 2008-9 was the recession, I really realized that bankers can actually be a harm to society. So I kind of really developed this negative experience with banking. Being an imam, I worked for a number of years, and really the only thing that kept me on the straight and narrow was the fact that I was invited to speak, and I would speak a lot. And then I started becoming more and more aware of social issues amongst Muslims. I would go to an area, and subhanAllah, I remember going to an area, and literally not too far from the masjid, I'm seeing like zoot on the floor, and I'm thinking, bro, this is near the masjid. Like, you got a £3 million masjid, but you got someone shotting mine on the end of the road. That means don't be fooled by these big imarats. People are not making effort on the streets. No one was guided because of the colour of a dome or a minaret. So then I started becoming more passionate about social work sciences and so on. Then I studied, alhamdulillah, now with the fadl of Allah, I graduated as a psychotherapist. I mean, I took my last final exam. I had one in August, alhamdulillah, I passed it. And then I had an external exam. I just got my results last week. Alhamdulillah, all clear. So now, obviously the future, whatever holds, will hold. But my number one priority for myself, the reason why I studied it, was to make a difference within firstly my Muslim community and then the wider community. So I studied it for the sake of Allah. Obviously, a few peas here and there won't hurt anyone, you get me? But then obviously the maqsad was for the deen of Allah. If Allah Ta'ala utilizes that skill, alhamdulillah. That would have been the primary maqsad, the motive for studying. And then inshallah, I can't say what's going to happen next. If anyone of you man want to fund a PhD, let me know, yeah? That's definitely, I mean, I'm up for I'm looking for a funder, or not a funder, I'm just obviously catching some jokes, but that wouldn't be bad. And I encourage all these young brothers, I'm very much for the secular sciences, so long as it's coupled with Islam. Not everyone can become a Maulana because it's not an easy lifestyle, and I appreciate that. It's tough, very, very tough. It's very tough. Because you've got to make economic sacrifices, there's so much you're going to have to do. You can be a Maulana and graduate and khalas, just take part in the family business, mashallah, or just do job and khalas, live life. But if you want to work at grassroots level amongst people, get ready for sacrifice. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's very tough, and you've got to hear a lot, you've got to say a lot, you're going to cry a lot, and it's a tough way of life. But as with anything, especially with life of ulama, it starts so slow, mujahada, and then mashallah, Allah Ta'ala accepts work. At the moment, all I can make dua to Allah is that He continues to accept work with ikhlas. May Allah grant me ikhlas, inshallah. And I request you brothers to make dua for me as well. Because the truth is that sometimes I think to myself, what I'm saying, will it be, na'uzubillah, a means of my faqr in the akhirah as well? Let it not be that I help some people to perhaps potentially come to the right path, but my life is empty and void from deen. May Allah never let that happen. So may Allah make it a means of hidayah for myself as well, inshallah. That's a bit of a minor thing, you get me? That wasn't even... the reason why I answered, because I didn't want you to feel that I just dashed your thing to the side. Otherwise, I'd rather not talk about myself. But this is the last thing I'm going to say, and it needs more time. But I'm going to just finish. Oh, there's more. Subhanallah. We can talk afterwards, inshallah. And I'm here. Where was the next bayan? One tomorrow. Suit Hill. Now you guys know where Suit Hill is, right? Do you know the name of the masjid? Then come tomorrow, inshallah. There the bayan's going to be 15 minutes and then Q&A. Well, 20, 30 minutes maybe. Not more than that, inshallah. 15 is more like news time at 10, innit? I mean, that's ridiculous. But probably half an hour, then more Q&A, because people have more questions, you get it? Look, this is a bit of an issue, right? We are brothers that are becoming atheists, agnostics, and following other ideologies such as liberalism, feminism, lending them to denouncing Islam. practical solutions to tackle this. Right, I'm going to keep this one in my pocket. Okay, check this out. You hit the nail on the head. Whoever wrote that, may Allah reward you. You know there's a problem, and we admit there's a problem. I'm not going to sit here and sing kumbaya and saying that we haven't got a problem. We've got a big problem. Because we didn't realize where the attack was coming from. Ulama of the past, what they always were noted for is that they would always see where the fitna was coming from, and accordingly they would formulate plans to attack it. And what happened is that historically what ulama have done, if you look at, for example, like why is it we even study like mantiq and Greek logic, even within the alim class? It's not called Greek logic, we call it mantiq. The reason why we even pick up such books is not to make us mantiqis or logicians or nothing like that. It's simply to understand the terminology, the istilahat of the language of the time which they used to rebuttal against the people of fitna back then. Now, I don't want to digress into a whole history lesson. I'm going to say it simply in 2 sentences. There were deviant ideologies. Ulama looked at those and Islamized them, so to say. Does that make sense? They looked at the problems, saw the solutions to the problem, and they basically used their language and tackled the issues. So they would use the word like, for example, now qadhiya ula, thani, and this natija, and that, because these are all like, for example, now I think it's called, what it's called, man. Allah forgive. Like, there's the most classical example that all human beings are mortal. Socrates is a human, so like this sort of thing. If you take out knowledge, and mantiq is the same. Anyway, bottom line is that we understood that there's a fitna bubbling, brewing, but yet we haven't tackled the issues. People like Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi have the opinion that to study Aqidah at a deep level is not even permissible for the awam. Hear me out first before you jump to any conclusions. Because of the intricate discussions which are taking place, it's not for every Tom, Dick and Harry. The problem is now, it's turned on its head. This has come to haunt us. Because what's happened is only certain ulama have knowledge of Aqidah issues within our society. If you go and have a discussion with a person, with an alim, we might be able to give you a convincing answer based on Aqidah Tahawiyya, Sharh al-Aqaid, Mistafi, Thalathat al-Usul, or something along the lines of an Aqidah book to say, this is my established Aqidah. What happens now, the people who are going to colleges and universities and so on, they're exposed to the fitna from that language. And when they ask the ulama for solutions, they're getting an answer in a different language. So it's alien. It doesn't make sense to them. I'm not saying that's the only problem. This is the start of the problem. Because when people sit in the duroos of ulama, if you're not going to get the vibe which is rebuttaling what you're hearing at college and school, and hence I say ulama needs to be relevant, this is the start of a problem. Another issue. When somebody does have doubts in their faith, imagine you go to a Maulana and say, Maulana, I'm really doubting the validity of my faith. Someone said this to someone. I had a phone call, not to mention too much, but one brother phoned me and said, these are some objections against Islam. So I looked at them and they were asking, I don't want to mention the questions, but some really intricate questions. And after he said about 7, I said, brother, are these questions coming from you? And I didn't mean to be disrespectful or judgmental. I didn't ask him why I said that. It's because the brother's a taxi driver. Right? Now he was asking certain questions about this person, and he mentioned a famous biologist said this and this, and I'm like, bro, do you even read these people? So who's saying this? And he come out openly, it's not me, it's my daughter. Cutting a long story short, what happened was that his daughter, she done about 15 sparas of Quran, Hafiza. And then she basically went into college and started doing philosophy and so on. Now because of how tight her community was, she couldn't access the ulama to ask anything. Because it was deemed haram, astaghfirullah, how can you even talk to a woman over a phone? That rigidity led to her not questioning and venting out her problems. She started looking for solutions online, got into the wrong hands. Fast forward, she has now become an atheist and denounced the deen. Now I'm telling you a grim result what happens when we become too insular sometimes and too horse-like vision, where we can't see peripheral what's going on around us. I did not say at any point we twist the deen of Allah and we turn the deen around. I'm saying where there's scope, work in a certain way, which we can know that these fitnas are going to arise. How are the ulama going to deal with this? You either train your sisters in Aqidah issues that are dealing with the problems of today, or you yourself have to have an avenue where we have to have the discussion and start the bahth somehow. Now whether that's over a phone, that's face to face, cutting a long story short, from the local area, none of the ulama would really sit with her. She has to wear full niqab and this, and they had a full line of conditions. So obviously the brother approached me and he goes, well, you know, what would you do? I'll say, okay brother, look, are you there? Are you going to be there? He goes, khalas, I'll come. Does she have to wear a certain libas? I said, just tell her to feel comfortable. I'll just make some ghaddul basar. Meaning in Arabic, I'll keep my eyes down. Don't worry about me. Alhamdulillah, through the respect, because obviously she really appreciated my man's a Maulvi and they gave me. So then, alhamdulillah, she had some suitable attire. And I say the word suitable, it was semi-suitable. But nevertheless, once we started talking, and we're going to finish in a minute. Once we started talking, I was there for 2.5 hours. Alhamdulillah, I'm going to say this openly on the minbar. If it wasn't for the training I did at I-ERA, I wouldn't have been able to answer what she asked. This much I could leave her with, that we were at a base where she said, I can't call myself an atheist, but I still have to call myself an agnostic. Meaning I can't prove the absence of God. And I said, I can't prove physically the existence. But we can discuss and debate the go rap and, you know, there's a whole motion of training and talking about the argument from design and the argument, the cosmological, there's all these arguments. If you don't understand nothing yourself, how are you going to make da'wah? You need to understand the language people are using. If I say to you, for example now, oh, this is very Hellenistic in its approach, or this is very, for example, hedonistic. What does that mean to people? What does that even mean? But this is the language we're hearing. We need to, the ulama firstly have a responsibility to learn, propagate, teach, instruct, private in dars, and also, when you do it in bayan, you just say it. You don't have to say, by the way, such and such a person said this. You just say the masala. Clear the zahn of the people. But you've got to know where the fitnas are coming from. Number one. Secondly, obviously that trickles down, that comes from the institution. The institution need to think wider as well. In just focusing on Kitab, Tahara, or maybe Nur al-Idha, we need to think something along the lines of Aqidah. So our institutions, maktabs, also need to teach issues of Aqaid as well. Okay? But when it comes now, obviously individual, build a rapport with scholars. If you've got shak, you've got doubt, speak to the people. And that's why again, we need ulama to be a bit more approachable, because this will help. Yes, there are works which are now being penned and are being written. It was a bit slow to start, but alhamdulillah, work is on the way. And again, we have to be realistic and be honest. If you look at some of the work which is being done, I'm going to say this openly, and it's going to sound controversial. I don't care if you're a Salafi, a Jamaat Islami, a Deobandi, a Mango Kulfi, I don't care what you are. If you're working for the same deen I am, and you're tying the hand here, saying Ameen loudly. I've been invited to Salafi Masjid. I got invited just recently to a Batley Masjid. But they're all our brothers. I'm not going to not come to you because you say Ameen loudly, I say it quietly. I've worked with the I-ERA brothers. I've spent time with some of the brothers. And I'm saying this openly now. This again, I don't care. Don't call me back if you think that's controversial then. We need to develop this mindset that we need to work as a community, a wider one amongst Muslims. Forget the ikhtilaf of where you're tying the hands. These are long gone debates. Now someone saying that I don't believe in Allah, would I rather want him to be a so-called, aliyazu billah, I use the word, deviant Muslim, or would I rather him not be a Muslim at all? So this is why I say the majority of work which has been done by organizations. For example now, alhamdulillah, not majority, but a lot of good work which has been done. I say check out I-ERA's website, there are certain individual speakers, they don't possess 100% goodness. No one is 100% totally correct. No human being, whether they're Salafi, Deobandi, Jamaat Islami, Brelki, whatever the case. We are all Muslim. Yes, there's going to be small ideological differences, and this infighting will remain until the day of Qiyamah. We will never be able to rid this, but we need to build up a degree of tolerance because we've got bigger fish to fry. Really, literally. I'm talking about fried. When's the food coming? Is it coming? Alright, so we'll leave it here. But this particular discussion now, it just so happened I'm going to be talking about this. In the hadith it mentioned, the Prophet said, "Inna min ashrat as-sa'a an yurfa al-ilm wa yakthura al-jahl." From the signs of Qiyamah, knowledge will be lifted, ignorance will prevail. I'm going to talk about this because this is causing a problem. This is causing a problem. If we do not understand the fitnas our community is facing, believe me, we are going to literally be kicked pillar to post. So I'm going to keep this. Whoever wrote this, Jazakallah. I'm going to keep this because I'm going to talk about this again inshallah. It's important and it's needed. There's a lot of ism, that ism, this ism. It needs to start from inshallah, and I'm sorry to hold the ulama also equally responsible. It's got to come from the ulama as well. You people are the qudwa, you people are the mashallah, the muqtada. People are going to come to you inshallah. So I humbly request the ulama as well. There's so many more of these. I went to a petrol station and the guy was a Maulvi. But everyone's Maulvi. There's so many ulama. But look, wallah, listen, get my number of Yahya if you want to move to Crawley. Wallahi, make hijrah. I'm custom, I'm not lying. I will help you get a job. Look, I'll try. Make hijrah. Move from Batley. Come to us. We are screaming for ulama down south. London, mashallah, bears. You go East London, you got loads, hundreds. Where we are, struggling. I can't even run a proper maktab because we don't even have proper ulama. I'm saying spread your wings a little bit. Move out of the areas. You can't do much khidmah locally, khalas, move out. That's why jahils like me have been able to spread my wings a little bit. Because no one down south is ready to do anything. So keep this in mind, inshallah. I'm going to stop here because I'm also hungry as well. The truth is we had breakfast at about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and since then I didn't eat nothing. A few snacks here and there. So inshallah what we'll do is tomorrow there'll be bayan. More questions. What I will humbly request, any questions, write them down. We'll address those as well tomorrow, inshallah. I'll take this one. We're going to keep hold of them. After food. Bro, you man are hectic, innit? Chalo, man. So, what time are you leaving from here then? Chalo, no, inshallah, we don't mind. Let's have a look at these. Here? Is it? Acha. Alright, chalo, that's cool then, inshallah.
Inshallah, Shaykh will be available after food. Reluctantly. But also, inshallah, the Daily Nasir brothers, the youngsters, so if there's any youngsters that want to sit with the Daily Nasir youngsters as well, find out what we do if you want to get involved. Inshallah, they'll be around as well. Food's going to be served in the classrooms, it's ready. So everyone's requested to eat. And then inshallah, if you can spend some time, it's Friday, tomorrow's Saturday, inshallah. So if we can stay behind, spend some time with Shaykh. If you want one-to-one, can inshallah maybe arrange that as well. And also, anybody that wants to sit with the Daily Nasir brothers, me and Mufti Sajid are around as well, the Daily Nasir brothers are around as well. So inshallah you can sit with us, speak to us, and we can engage inshallah. So all brothers are requested to make their way to the classrooms inshallah, the food will be served. Jazakallah.